Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Against the Grain podcast. I'm Josh Holbrook here with Mike Irvin.
How's it going, guys?
It's been a while since we got to it again. Seems like it's taken us 2 weeks, the holidays happening and all of that, but glad to be back here with you, Mike.
Always a tough time, but always good to do this. Always enjoy it,
Tough but
man.
fun,
Yeah.
family, all that good stuff. Thanksgiving good for you?
Yeah, it was kind of great. We were at Pam's house, my wife's mother, and just us. So small crowd,
Yeah,
not a lot to
yeah. We got
do.
a small crowd. We got
Just
a small
cooking.
crowd
It was
too.
good.
Yeah, all of our kids were here. That's our older kids. We don't haven't had that in a little while, so it was good. Had our daughter from California in, so that was good. I ate way too much and then slept and snored like a chainsaw on the couch and bothered everybody, I think. So
Watch a
that
little
was good.
football.
Yeah, definitely all day. But
Nice.
what we are going to talk about today is something that we have been kind of kicking around for quite a while now. It's not really a current event, it is past events, but it's something that kind of needs to be talked about, should be in the minds of everybody who cares about our country and things being on the up and up and what the truth is. And that is the Clinton body count.
Yeah, and since we have the means at our disposal to uncover these things easily now, I think now is the time.
Yeah. And so what we mean by the Clinton body count is there's long been rumored people that have died in the vicinity of Bill and Hillary Clinton under suspicious and mysterious circumstances.
Yeah.
And
Should we
before
give
we
the
get into the,
disclaimer? Yeah.
well, yeah, allegedly, absolutely. Everything here we're talking about is allegedly because there's absolutely been no convictions. There's not
Yeah, it's
even really
all
been any court cases.
all circumstantial. But
The co-
when
the
when
court
you have a
cases that
ton of
have happened,
circumstantial evidence, kind of adds up to a lot.
yeah, the court cases that have happened have been settled out of court. So we haven't even had a discovery or really gotten into anything deep. And it just seems like these things seem to, the accusations and the circumstances and evidence seem to just kind of flitter off into nothing.
Yeah, yeah, which is
Frustrating.
so frustrating and unfortunate. Um,
Yeah.
in this, like I was saying, in this day and age where so much corruption is being exposed and nothing's happening, and
Nothing.
that's what pisses me off. And
Yeah,
the Clintons are the poster children for it. So,
definitely. And with all the stuff around Epstein, which we've talked to at length in our first episode,
yeah,
um, the Clinton stuff is coming up again because when it does come out, it's almost a certainty that Bill Clinton's going to be heavily involved and heavily implicated in wrongdoing with underage girls.
yeah, way more so than our current president. And it's just
Definitely.
factually, yeah. Even though
That
some would
stuff.
like to say the opposite, but there's
But
really
we are not partisans around here and we don't
no.
care. If any of them have involvement, we think it needs the best disinfectant, which is the light of day and the sunshine, man. Just put it on it and let everybody see what really happened and let's go from there. We want facts, we want truth. It's difficult on a
100%.
thing it's difficult on these kind of cases. We're talking about facts and truth because a lot of this again is allegedly, and there's no real
Sure,
facts and hard evidence. But I think when there's enough smoke, you imagine that there's been fire that you didn't get a chance to see.
absolutely. I will say
We
though,
know that,
the fact there is a fact that Clinton was on Epstein's plane 28 times, visited the island how many times? I don't know, but
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot. That's
a
factual.
lot.
And there's
And
no
one of the
fact that's been found out about Trump. And I'm not a Trump fan, okay? I'm just saying that's where everybody's like, oh, Trump doesn't want the Epstein files to come out, even though he just signed the release. But okay, sorry, getting
Yeah,
ahead of
we're gonna get
myself.
to some of the yeah, we're gonna get to some of the Epstein stuff a little bit later because it does kind of
Yeah,
come back around at the end of this story. But really, just right up front, I mean, I wanted to read off some of the women that he was certainly involved with inappropriately.
yeah,
And YouTube doesn't like when you say certain words, so if you hear us say things that are not quite the right word, you know what we mean.
yeah.
Um, but just first of all, I got Eileen Wellstone in 1969, essay attempt, an attempted grape. Juanita Broderick in
Mm.
1978 uh, uh, accused him of grape. Um, if you got any of the details on any of these you want to stop me on, Mike, go ahead. Um, Carolyn
Gotcha.
Moffat in 1979, SA.
Hmm.
Leslie Milwee in 1980, SA on three different occasions. Sandra Allen James in 1991, SA. Paula Jones, 1981, harassment and indecent exposure and propositioning. Kathleen Willey in 1993, SA, groping and
Hmm.
forced contact. Obviously, Monica Lewinsky, most Americans know that one. That's the one that
Obviously.
everybody should have in their mind. We know
Right.
what happened there. President nearing his 50s was involved with a 22-year-old intern for about a 2 year term. And then Jennifer Flowers in 1998 claimed a 12-year consensual affair, and Clinton admitted it happened one time.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah. You have any additional ones that should be on that list before we get to some of the other accusations?
I did want to talk about Kathleen Willey. Just some weird thing, and I'm going to say this, probably a couple times in this podcast, but there are some loose ties to a lot of things tied to Clinton, and this is not so loose, but her husband was found shot in the head the same day that she accused Bill of sexual, sorry, SA, and that seems a little fishy. What else? I know I've
So
got some
he
more.
was found shot the same day as the accusations came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit fishy, a little
Hmm.
too convenient and too right on the nose, which I think is what
Yeah.
we're going to find a lot of here.
Hmm. And I have more that are kind of peppered throughout Bill's career if we want to go in then, but I can just go ahead and say it if it's SA related. Suzanne Coleman had an affair with Bill while he was the Arkansas Attorney General. She was killed by a gunshot wound to the back of the head while pregnant,
Hmm.
and it was deemed as suicide. Back of the head, pregnant.
Lots of deemed suicides we're going to get to here.
Yeah. What else? Just SA. Um,
And while Mike is looking right there, forgive the constant looking down we're doing and the rustling of papers because there's just a lot of detail and you have to go through notes and kind of understand what you're looking at here.
Tons of stuff. Yeah.
S- And it's a little bit different than some of the other podcasts that we've done. I mean, there's a lot of details that are involved, and it took some time to research this. I mean, this is one of the first things we talked about doing, and it's just taken some time to look at it all.
Yeah. We want to make sure we get the facts straight.
Yeah.
I think I'm good for now. We can move on.
Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to get into right away was in his early career as governor, which that he had two terms, one shorter at 1979 to 1981, and then 1983 to 1992 were his terms. A little short first term, longer second term. There's all
Hmm.
kinds of stuff that went on there, most notably around the Mena, Arkansas rural airport.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about this until I started digging into this. I'd never even heard this stuff. Had you heard of it before you
I
started
had
digging?
not any at all. I mean, I'd heard about Iran Contra, of course, but
Yeah,
and that's kind of tied to it, but
yeah,
I had not heard about Mina at all.
yeah. So there's a guy named Barry Seal who was a former TWA pilot, and he was very clearly this is factual. He was running drugs from the Medellin cartel to the Mena, Arkansas area, and he was not landing the plane with drugs on it, but he was dropping it off at drop points near the area in the heavily wooded areas around this rural airport, and people were picking it up. Um, he did this from the early 80s through 1986. And just cutting to the end of the story, Seal was killed by a cartel oriented hit squad and shot multiple times and killed. But
Hmm.
so we can talk about some of the other details that we're sure of as well. Um,
It's
he
estimated he made
actually,
like 50 million on smuggling cocaine in that area.
It was 3 to 5 billion is what it said in the notes that I
Oh,
found.
okay.
He might have made 50 million himself,
Right,
but
right,
the net
exactly.
net worth of the cocaine was 3 to 5 billion over a course of mostly 80 to 84. 86 was when he got shot. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's just crazy.
And
And
you're
then there
telling me
wasn't
the
there a
government of the state didn't know anything about it. Sure.
Yeah. Well, it's widely speculated that Clinton covered up for this activity, not only because he had family involved. Didn't you have something on that?
Yeah, so there was another guy who was a Clinton supporter, Dan Lasseter, who was arrested for smuggling with Clinton's half brother, Roger, and they all had ties to Barry Seal.
Yeah. And so at this time, we mentioned the Iran Contra affair, what was going on, and what was clearly a matter of factual record and released in CIA released documents now that we do have record of. The CIA was bringing in
Hmm.
and selling cocaine and using the money to buy arms to arm the Nicaraguan Contras against the government of Nicaragua. All of these things obviously illegal, and they were doing this to circumvent Congress.
Right. And they're using the money to allegedly fund the Clintons' campaigns.
Well, I mean, there's relationship there at least at a minimum. We know Iran Contra was going on, and we also know that intelligence agencies, the CIA specifically, put heavy amounts of pressure on government officials, have blackmail over them. We've talked about some of Bill's illicit activities, and if he was already doing things that a naughty boy shouldn't be doing, the CIA easily could have put some pressure on him to not only turn a blind eye but help to facilitate them getting away with some of this stuff.
Exactly.
And so in 1984, Seal was kind of busted late in 84, and so he turned state's evidence, and he actually testified before a Senate committee and became a DEA informant, providing a bunch of evidence against the cartel, and that's why the cartel ended up offing him.
Yeah. Uh, Probably not too wise to testify against the cartel in court, but
Yeah, there's no direct ties. There's no like direct evidence that says this is what Barry Seal was doing and it was for the CIA and Bill Clinton covered it up, but it's widely speculated that that's what
right.
happened.
Hmm.
In 96, federal grand jury in Arkansas investigated but found insufficient evidence for broader charges beyond Seal's known crimes. I mean, so they were still going after it even after Barry Seal was long dead.
Yeah.
Um, so we talked about Bill turning a blind eye. I mean, it would seem to me, being in charge of it, that he had to. There's also a lot of implications that the Arkansas State Police were doing the dirty work or the wet work of getting rid of people who knew too much, or they were acting as cleanup crews for the various things that were happening. In
Right.
fact, there was a local police officer who was involved in one of the um, big things that happened, the incident that's referred to as Boys on the Tracks.
Hmm.
All right. This was in Mena, Arkansas, and there was two teenagers in 1987, Don Henry and Kevin Ives, were spotlight hunting near Bryant, Arkansas, ended up dead on the Union Pacific tracks. And it was,
Hmm.
first of all, thought that the original story was that they were so high from smoking marijuana cigarettes that they passed out on the tracks. That's what they originally tried to sell.
Yeah.
But then it became apparent that both of them had been beaten, stabbed, and one of them shot. The one that had been stabbed multiple times, and they were clearly dead by the evidence before the train ever ran over them. And they were covered up by a blue tarp. So, the train can't stop anyway, but the engineers at first had thought they had hit some wildlife that was covered up and left on the tracks.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things that caused so much um, confusion around the death of these boys was the state medical examiner was a very shady character named Fahmy Malek,
Hmm.
and his name comes up over and over again in the stuff that takes place in Arkansas in not a good way. Um, the family of the boys demanded a second autopsy by somebody independent of the state, and that's when they found all of the other injuries, and it became clear that they had died long before they were placed on the tracks. And it's thought that they either stumbled upon or had used that spotlight hunting as a uh, reason to be out there, but really what they were looking for is one of those drops of cocaine, and they got one and got on the wrong side of it. That's what the
Yeah.
implications are when you read up on the story.
Hmm. Well, and this coroner, how many botched autopsies has he done before?
You know, that's the Clinton connection that really is concrete. And as
Yeah,
governor, he Clinton backed Malik despite 20 plus botched autopsies, even
20
giving him a
plus.
raise after one, even giving him a raise and cementing his position after people started to really complain about his work. Um, and
How does
you know,
someone survive that long in a job when they botch every
I mean,
job that they do?
the only
That,
way is that that you're the governor's guy and he's keeping you in the spot because he wants you there because you cover up for his stuff.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
you know, that's bad enough, that story with the boys that died.
Hmm.
But it's even darker than that because there was six witnesses over time that surrounded that people that said they saw some of the stuff going down, saw the issue with the boys happen, that ended up dying in mysterious circumstances as well surrounding all
Yeah,
of that. um,
six for sure, right? That we know of.
six for sure that we have names of, and just some of those circumstances. Keith Coney, um, he was killed in a motorcycle accident when he was fleeing pursuers. They don't. It wasn't the cops. It was people chasing him, and he was like that. People saw him run away on his motorcycle from people who were pursuing him, and then he died. In that accident. Keith McCaskey in November of '88. Um, he was an informant who knew too much about the deaths. He was stabbed 113 times in his home. I
That's
guess they wanted to make
overkill.
sure. I guess they
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Jeez.
Gregory Collins, January of '89. He was another witness shot in the face with a shotgun, ruled a suicide. And one of our other um, apparent suicides that was ruled a suicide, but we doubt it. Later on, we're going to find out that 1% of all suicides are by shotgun.
Yeah.
And so that is another thing that lends no credence to this. Jeff Rhodes, a friend of the boys, um, who heard the details from some other friends, was tortured, shot, and body dumped and burned. James Dewey Millham in 1989, witness found decapitated. That state coroner Malik ruled it a natural causes death. A decapitation, natural causes.
Decapitation. Wow.
Yeah, decapitation. The head was later found in a separate trash bin. I mean, how do you even call that, even try to pass that off as natural causes? It's just crazy.
It's actually
Um,
insane. Yeah. I mean, and that's the problem is they keep doing this stuff and it's so obvious and nobody is the wiser. I mean, it blows me away.
yeah. Richard Winters was a suspect in the killing of the boys. He was killed himself in a robbery setup during a sting by police, by Arkansas State Police. Um, there was another guy who was also involved, and I don't know where my note is on this. I don't have it here, but he was like a local prosecutor or something that promised to get to the bottom of it, who ended up getting busted for like possession and distribution of cocaine, and it was widely speculated that he was involved in the Mina cartel and probably had known about the whole thing from the beginning. But he was this public figure who made a big show and public uh, statements that he was going to get to the bottom of it, and it turns out he was probably involved. So it just seems just dirty all the way around.
Yeah. I've
So
got a little more on Mina too. I got more, like a few more people that, you know, loosely associated, but definitely apparently tied to it all. Florence Martin, an accountant and CIA member assigned to the Mina airfield case, died of three gunshot wounds. Um, Danny Casolaro was an investigative reporter doing a documentary on the Mina airfield and the ADFA. um, which we'll go into later. But he slit his wrists in the middle of his investigation, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And his partner that was working with him, not his partner, but guy that was working with him, Paul Wilcher, was found dead on the toilet. So it's just a lot of loose
Was
ends
there
here.
any details around that one? Like, what was the cause of death there? Did they even say?
I mean, it wasn't an aneurysm or something tied to death on a toilet. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to dig into that deeper.
Needless to say,
Yeah,
around Bill's time as governor of Arkansas,
wow, a lot of crazy
there was a
stuff going on.
lot of weird, not just weird, but a lot of people who died in mysterious circumstances that don't seem like they were natural and
Hmm.
tied into this cocaine smuggling operation. And just it's just off the side of it, just to the um, just to the right or to the left of the actual operation itself. And then that
Hmm.
back then, I mean, I was too young even, so I know you were, to even be aware of a story like the boys on the tracks. I mean, that's back
Right.
when I was probably in elementary school. Um, but it's just wild reading about all that stuff. And then and could you imagine in this day and age with access to the internet and all the how stories would go wild, somebody like Clinton being able to survive that and then become president?
No
No
chance,
way.
man.
No chance. Um, Anything else on Mina that you found significant?
Oh, no, not off the top right now.
Okay. Well, the next one is somebody who followed the Clintons from the Arkansas administration into the White House, and that's Vince Foster.
Yeah, this one, this one is the most appealing to me. It's
It was
just
really
so
interesting.
much with this case that can't really be explained, in my
Yeah,
opinion, anyway.
yeah. It was, well, actually, before we go on to Vince Foster, one of the other things that happened while the Clintons were in Arkansas was the Whitewater scandal.
Mm.
Um, Whitewater was the original like bad loans scandal,
Yeah,
and what they would do. I'll give a
residential
summary, and
development. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
give a summary, and then if you have details, go for it. But what they would do is they would specifically look for older, somewhat well-off retirees who were on a fixed income, get them into these really kind of messed up termed loans where if they missed one payment, they were repoed one
Yeah.
payment. And then
Hmm.
they would repo the house and then they'd resell it. And they did this over and over and over again. And it was very illegal and it was shown to be illegal. And you know, they ended up getting out of it. The Clintons kind of weaseled their way out of it. I'm not sure of the details of how they did that, but it was very, very clear that it was illegal activity and they were highly tied to it and made a ton of money off of it. Um,
Yeah, ton of money.
yeah. So,
Um, there was just one example of the Clintons pressuring a judge to give them a $300,000 loan and just using it to fund their campaign. Um, I don't know how much was actually given here, but Vince Foster knew a lot about it. What was his role in the White House? I mean, he was an attorney for the Clintons, but do you have any specifics on that?
yeah, he joined the White House as a deputy counsel. It placed him
Okay.
at the heart of the administration's legal operations. So he's a lawyer,
Yeah.
and so he had been a lawyer around the Clinton circle, throughout Whitewater, throughout all that stuff, throughout the MENA stuff, and so he
Yeah.
just kind of had a long history with them and knew where the skeletons were in the closet. One of the other
Hmm.
things about Vince Foster is it was long rumored that he and Hillary had a long running affair. He's a
Right.
married guy, and obviously she was married, and let me just say, ew. Gross.
Well, this was all
uh,
White House staff members, right? That were saying this over
yeah, this is
years
White House
of
staffers.
interacting with them. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was widely speculated even at the time. But again, ooh, gross. Um, but there was just one of the interesting things that I found when I was doing this research is that this was the one that online was mostly tightly held as debunked by official sources, and I had to
Why?
really kind of. No, no, Vince Foster.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I'm sorry.
moving on to Vince Foster. Sorry, should have made that transition a little bit more clear. But
I'm sorry. I didn't
um,
give much on Whitewater. I have a lot, but we can go back to it. Um,
oh no, if you have it, let's do it now.
I mean, I just have a laundry list of names of people that were involved that, you know, ended up, um, I can't think of a word for the S word. You know what I mean?
Mysteriously dying.
Mysteriously, yeah.
Deleted. Self deletion.
Deleted. Yes, thank you.
Self deletion. That's the phrase we'll use.
Right. And when they had this fund that they used to launder this money through called the Madison Guarantee, and the biggest name was James McDougal, who started the fund and was a friend of the Clintons and campaign donor. He was conveniently, um, passed away before he could testify. He was set to testify against the Clintons in this case.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's
James
interesting how many
Wilson.
people
Sorry,
are
go ahead.
set set to testify and then mysteriously pass away. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, like Jeffrey Epstein. Um, anyway, another guy, uh, James Wilson, had knowledge of the Clintons and Whitewater, set to testify, conveniently hanged himself. Um, Stanley Huggins, he was hired to investigate the Madison Guarantee and conveniently committed, um, you know what, before a report could come out on it.
Self
And
deletion.
then, yeah, self deletions. Thank you. John Parnell Walker, Whitewater investigation partner for Resolution Trust Corporation, jumped to his death from an apartment balcony. Everyone around him said he was not thinking about self deleting himself at all. Never would. Um, it's just a laundry list, man. And I know that, there's a lot of naysayers would say it's just loosely based, but I mean, there's so many people associated with this case that ended up that way and suspiciously. And I don't know how you can not at least look into that.
Yeah. It's the amount of people that died in proximity, and we're going to continue to talk about specific cases, but the amount of people that died in proximity in suspicious circumstances and or self deletions that don't seem like they could have been is just
Yeah.
insane. Um, but
Hmm.
well, let's move on to Vince Foster a little bit. I was starting to say that um, the what you find on the internet when you just scratch the surface is debunked, 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 debunked. And I just went, I've heard so much about this one over the years. I just don't think that's the case. And so I started pushing a little bit harder. What did you see when you started digging on it?
I just saw the overwhelming amount of strange instances in this case. And I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a case like this where there's just so much that doesn't make sense, right? Or that can't be explained with him self-deleting, put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, I mean, there was some reports that he was stressed, and there were some reports that he was having some depression issues. And his sister said when she heard that he had died, she knew that how it had happened and that it was by his own hand. Um,
Well, and
but then you have
the day before, Hillary called a meeting with all the White House staff and apparently berated him in front of all of his peers and made him look very small, for some small thing.
so there's some indications that he could have been headed in that direction for a self deletion. But on the other hand, there's also all kinds of things that just don't really make a lot of sense.
No.
Um, the the official report um, said it was a 38 revolver that was a gun that belonged to him. But then when I started digging deeper, it was saying that the serial number traced to the gun had it was part of two different weapons. So it was like somebody had put two different weapons together, which is just weird.
Yeah, if you buy a
It
gun, it's not going to be that way.
Yeah,
I mean, it
and
could be, but that's not normal.
yeah, and then his fingerprints were the only ones on it. He was right-handed, but it was found with his thumb inside the trigger guard on his left hand. That's how it was found. Um, there was not a lot of blood at the scene, and apparently he put it. The officially story was put it in his mouth, and that the gun was inside of his oral cavity, and the bullet went up and out. No bullet was ever found.
Hmm. And
Um,
not a lot of blood at the scene, right? Wound
there
like
was
that would have had massive amount of blood.
That's another huge part of the speculation, is that there just wasn't the kind of evidence of blood that there should have been. Um, very a lot of people said that the body looked too perfect, like it
Hmm.
was laid out like it was going to be in a coffin. Said there was no like impact under the head, like into the ground where it would have like slammed down.
Right.
Nobody heard a shot is another thing in this park.
Hmm.
Um, Somewhere along the line, some of the first responders, paramedics, and park police reported that the body had blonde, shoulder length hair stuck to the face and shoulder. Foster had short, dark hair.
Mm.
Later on, that evidence was gone. The blonde hair was no longer around, and all remarks to that effect were removed from the case.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. The gun was found in his right hand and thumb, and he was left-handed.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Same result. Yeah.
yeah. Um, the 27-page suicide note, I said that word, didn't I? Self deletion note,
That's
um,
all right.
torn into 28 pieces in his briefcase. It was found a
That
week later
yeah, that was
after the
just bizarre.
briefcase. After the briefcase had already been searched twice by White House staff and declared empty.
Hmm.
That kind of detail is just so sideways and weird.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and why is the White House staff the one searching that anyway? Wouldn't you think that'd be police? Wouldn't you think that'd be turned
Yeah,
over to
you
the
think
police?
so, or security or something maybe. Um,
The other
and
thing, the other thing
also,
about
sorry, I was just going to say that Hillary sent her head aide in to search his office. Was it a day after, a couple days after he was found dead?
Yeah, and that
And
aide testified to that fact, right?
she did. And Hillary denies it, still denies it to this day. But
Hmm.
that aide, she said it in court,
Yeah.
testified under oath. And a
There
bunch
was
of files were stolen, right?
hmm That there was a handwriting. A bunch of three independent handwriting experts said that it didn't match his handwriting, and that the phrasing was very strange for somebody who was about to go kill himself, and too eloquent and well spoken for somebody. But I mean, he is a lawyer, so I kind of discount that eloquent part. Lawyers are gonna be a little bit more eloquent anyway, and
Hmm.
so that for me doesn't really, that part of it doesn't lend a lot of credence. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing before we get along to the physical evidence is that the park police are the ones that handled the investigation, and the FBI never picked up the case.
Yeah.
It was handled by a local park police tied to the president of the United States, and it wasn't. There was no FBI at least initially. There was no FBI investigation.
Yeah.
Um,
Should have been FBI jurisdiction, right? Tied
you'd
that
think
closely
so.
to the president. Yeah.
Yeah. The original Polaroids from the scene disappeared from evidence.
Hmm.
The X-rays from the hospital vanished. Radiology reports vanished, after some say that they clearly showed both an exit wound in the back of the skull, and also that it resembled something from a high velocity round rather than the 38.
Right.
Um, some of the reports that were verbal by some of the witnesses who were there during the examination said there was a second wound in the head as well, um,
Hmm.
further complicating matters. There was carpet fibers found in on his clothes and in his car, that matched nothing of anywhere that they could identify. So no place of residence, not in the office, not in his car. They didn't belong to any of that. They had all these things that were all over him and all over his car, but they didn't
Yeah.
match any place that they were ever able to identify.
Hmm. That's fishy, to say the least.
Hmm.
Well,
Um,
and there were multiple people that were tasked with looking into this case, right? And
Eventually.
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're still giving
No,
facts.
no, no, go ahead.
There was the Fisk report first, which just so many glaring errors and didn't even really look into the case hardly at all. Just dismissed everything. So then Ken Starr was given the opportunity, and everything I've seen seems to say that he was just the Clintons' patsy to get this done the way they wanted it to be done.
Ken Starr's, that was his mission, was to just close the case, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't get too far on Ken Starr. Um,
So he had a lead investigator on his team. He's the one that found the proof that the FBI agents doctored those pictures we were talking about the second wound that they didn't want to
mhm.
see. And Starr heard about it and fired him. And after all is said and done, Starr's report doesn't focus on any facts. It basically just says it's a suicide, regardless of all of these things.
Self
And it
deletion.
just, yeah, I'm sorry,
It's all good.
self belief. But the
Yeah.
coroner lied on multiple occasions. Um, there was a clip from his court interview that I saw that was just crazy. It just shows him. They're like, okay, sir, well, you said this to this lead investigator. And he's like, well, yeah, I said it, but that wasn't the case. It was something about he took an X-ray of something he was supposed to take and didn't even do it.
Yeah, I
Didn't
just found my
file it.
note. Just found my note on the independent pathologist, Dr. Donald Hout. The
Hmm.
first doctor who examined the body noted a small caliber wound on the neck and jaw that was never mentioned in the official report.
Yep, exactly.
Um, Patrick Knowlton was in Fort Mercy Park an hour before the body was found. Saw a threatening man staring him down from near Foster's car and insists the
Oh yeah,
official timeline is impossible. He was later harassed and sued, and then he sued the FBI successfully for witness tampering.
yeah, yeah. They followed him for years, right? For decades.
Yeah. I didn't get any
Crazy.
more real details on him than that, but it sounded, I did read some, I didn't take him down the notes, but it sounded like he was harassed a bunch for saying those kind of things.
Yeah.
Um, Several Arkansas state troopers who knew the Clintons claimed Foster was on the verge of talking about something big, maybe Whitewater
Mm.
or Mina.
Hmm.
And then people say the body was also moved. That's something that I found super contradictory. In the official account, it's like clear as day that it says, oh, there's no sign of the body being moved at all. And then when I dug deeper and started looking into some of the things that people say who disagree with the official narrative, it says there's footprints and tire tracks showing the body was dragged to its final position. It's like
Yeah.
it couldn't be more contradictory. Now, my inclination is not to necessarily believe official stories when there's powerful people involved. Um,
Right.
so take that for what you will.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but I mean, we've been talking for almost an hour straight about things that are closely tied to the Clintons. I mean, even if one of these things we've been talking about is, you know, their fault or they're tied to it completely, that's enough for me. That's there's just too many coincidences going on here.
Yeah, I believe the other thing that was noted was that Foster's car was seen at the park hours before he supposedly drove there. His keys were never found in his pockets, yet the car was later found with the keys in the ignition. That is something that also totally contradicts the official narrative that
Hmm.
says his car was locked. And it's like, I don't know, man. What do you believe when you have such contradictory things out there? Um, Especially about
Yeah.
something that, again, happened so long ago, involves powerful people. I mean, powerful people will do anything to protect themselves. Our government, as we've discussed in many occasions on many different topics, they're filthy, man.
Hmm. Well, you hear all kinds of things, like you're saying. I mean, you don't know what to believe. I just saw something in a video about how Vince Foster was apparently under investigation for espionage, leaking secrets to Israel through a company called Systematics, which spied on bank transactions and used it was used to cover up money laundering, and that maybe Mossad was somehow involved. I mean, you don't know. You don't know
I
what's
wouldn't
real
doubt
and
it.
what's not. I wouldn't doubt
Yeah,
it
I wouldn't
either,
doubt
but
it.
it's like there's not a whole lot of info to back that up.
Hmm.
But
You got any more on Vince Foster?
just that Hillary's just so cold in any interview about him. Like she's just mad that they're bringing it up. Bill was, very couth and this was my good friend, and we don't know why he blamed it on deading yourself or whatever. But Hillary just every interview just gets upset when they ask her about this. And I mean, this
Sure.
guy brought her on to his law firm, you know, made her somebody, and this is the way she treated him. And I just, man, dude, looking at all of this stuff, Hillary just seems like the coldest, most ruthless person in politics that I can remember even delving into, you know?
That's always been my perception of Bill and Hillary Clinton is that
Yeah.
they met in college. At that time, it was not something that a woman was going to be doing, was running for governor or president. She was the political animal, and Bill was just an animal. He was a
Yeah.
party guy. He liked women of all stripes and shapes and ages.
Yeah.
And she was the one who was always had the ambition,
Yeah.
and but again, like you say, when it comes to like public interaction when it comes to these questions, Hillary was very aggressively angry and indignant that things were brought up, and Bill was like, oh, Vince was a great guy,
Yeah.
he, he was just he
Right.
was just cool. I mean, that's why he's like mythologized in rap about being the cool guy. So
Right.
that's kind of funny. um
But I mean,
but
you'd think that she would try to fake it, at least to try to be cordial and, say, hey, I
she's
owe this guy a lot. I love this guy. But no, man, she's just cold.
Yeah, dude. She's like a Wolverine about all of it. She's like always angry. It's just
Yeah,
things
I
she
think
says.
we talked about this before. She's the only person that's more unlikable than Donald Trump, in my opinion. And that's why he won that election. I mean, she is just so unlikable on so many levels, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, if anybody knows who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, she's pretty unlikable to me. Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi's up there. Mitch
Yeah.
McConnell. Okay, never mind. I could go on and on, um, but yeah, she is very unlikable. Um, I was going to move on to Seth Rich, unless you had any other details to include there or anywhere to sandwich in between, because Seth Rich is quite a few years later. So if you had anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to get in between there,
I just
we
kind of
could
wanted to
throw it in
wrap
there.
Vince Foster. I mean, friend of Clinton since like 6 years old or something, right? And they still did him like
Mm.
this, and that's an example of what they are
Allegedly, they
willing.
did. Yeah.
Right, right. Sorry, willing. But if they'll do it to him, they'll do it to anybody. Is I guess my point. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, any other folks that fall in that timeline between the 90s and the mid 2000s? Because Seth Rich was actually, no, he was 90, no, 2016 is when he was. You got anything in between that time frame? Um,
Um, I had one that was really interesting. Ron Brown was
okay,
the Secretary of Commerce under Clinton and a former
okay,
Democratic National Conference chairman. In 1996, he died in a plane crash, but they found, after the rubble settled, that he had a gunshot hole in his head. They found the round and the casing, and he was under investigation for the Commerce Department trade mission scandal, which was basically these politicians were giving up seats on their federally funded planes, private planes, to investors in their campaigns. So
How
obviously,
many other people were
Clinton.
on that flight?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. Um, but there, I mean, there's a lot of things directly tying Brown to the Clintons. Um, payments from them, payments from him to them, and another interesting fact is that Brown's attorney was killed in a drive-by the next day. So his attorney had some dirt too, apparently, and he was
Wow.
killed the next day. Yeah. So trying to see. I mean, there's just so many names. I'm like flipping these pages. It's crazy, man. I don't know how you explain this. Um, I
I'm
think that's
checking it
all I've
out.
got.
35 people died on board. There were no survivors, 29 passengers.
Okay.
The 28 of Brown plus 28 were American officials, business executives, and U.S. Air Force personnel. Six crew members all died. So,
Yeah.
um, we that's hard to say. The gunshot wound is very, very telling that it wasn't just a plane crash. But man, if they're
Right.
to take down a plane with 35 people on it
Yeah.
to get rid of somebody who had dirt on them, that's just terrible. And what wouldn't they do at that point? We're already getting to that point of what wouldn't they do, just with the ones we've talked about. And
Right.
just for context, the larger story here when it comes to the Clinton body count is there's over 50 plus. And actually, I was listening to an interview with John McAfee, the creator of the software. He's kind of a crazy rich guy. You ever heard of him? You ever seen him speak? Um,
No, but I mean, I know the software for sure.
Yeah, yeah, but he's kind of a wild dude. And they imprisoned him, and I think he ended up dying in prison, and he was talking about how they were going to kill him. But when he was given an interview about them, he was saying it's at least 100 plus. So he puts the number way
Yeah.
higher.
Hmm.
That's just one person and one person's accusations unfounded with no evidence. But still, we're talking about the implications are that these people are willing to commit murder, and not just uh, of people that are directly implicated, but people surrounding them, and they don't care about collateral damage. It's crazy.
Right. Hmm. Well, I just have a couple
It,
more names to run off. I mean, if you want to hear them, I mean, we got like
sure.
Mary Mahoney, White House intern, was set to go public for an essay case against Clinton. She was shot execution style at a Starbucks in 1996 by a guy named Carl Cooper. And then he claimed that he was a patsy. And then after 54 hours straight of interrogation, recanted that. So,
Wow. Who could stand up to 54 hours of interrogation? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if that
And
would
that's
stand up in court.
that's the crazy thing. You asked me earlier, what's the legal amount of interrogation hours that you're supposed to handle? It differs by state, which is crazy to me. It differs by county as well. And it's basically pretty lenient.
Yeah, but didn't you say the military standard is like uh,
8 hours,
or
or yeah,
six?
sorry,
Oh,
4 hours with a break, and then 8 hours total in a 24-hour period.
it just seems wild that it would be any more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Uh,
at what point does the information become unreliable because people are willing to say anything for you to stop just leaning on them, you know?
yeah, I
Um,
mean, at 54 hours in without sleep, you're probably hallucinating at that point,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. I don't know what the longest is I've ever stayed up without sleep, but it ain't 50 hours, I can tell you that.
no,
Um,
absolutely
I
not.
mean, I've gone maybe, 30 working crazy jobs, but at that
Yeah.
point you're an insane person at that point. At least for me, I can't do it.
Hmm.
Um, what other names before we get to Seth Rich?
Um, okay, so there was another. um, corruption scandal called it was about the ADFA, Arkansas Development Finance Authority. Millions of dollars funneled into the Clinton campaign. It was supposed to be for creating jobs and building churches and schools. Fake bonds were used to launder drug money. Yada yada. 50 million in Cayman Island offshore accounts. Um, Clinton's finance chairman, Victor Razier, and his family were involved in another plane crash. And when was this? Let's see, 1988. So it's just it's a laundry list, man.
Yeah.
And then these people, this was all tied to Dan Lassiter, who we were talking about earlier, who was arrested with his half brother for smuggling cocaine.
So those people were related to Lassiter.
Yeah, yeah. The money that was going into the ADFA was given to Dan Lassiter, and he had it in the Cayman Island offshore account. And then he was looked into by the FBI and is now it's still in prison, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. All right. What else?
crazy stuff, man. Let's see. There's a lot of other things that I probably won't mention just because it's not that glaring. Um,
Yeah. Super circumstantial, loosely tied, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, this list is long. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Well, the Seth Rich one is the next one that I kind of
Oh,
dove
oh,
headlong into.
I'm
Go
sorry. I
ahead.
did have one more. Jerry Parks, who was the head of security um, for Bill's presidential campaign, um, was killed in Little Rock leaving a restaurant in 1993. And his son said that Jerry had told him that he had some dirt on the Clintons that Clinton said he was going to bring to the media. So
Yeah,
that's kind
that's
of
a bad
crazy.
deal.
Yeah.
And a couple people, it's funny that you say it like that because a couple people that I told that I was going to do this episode are like, "Oh, you like to live dangerously, huh?" You can't. You want to talk about that taking your life into your hands.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully we're too small time for them. Um,
Hopefully.
so Seth Rich, and I got to read a lot of these details because there's a lot of them. Seth Rich was a 27-year-old like idealist Democrat from Omaha, Nebraska. He was talked about chasing democracy in the swamp, and he referred to DC as the swamp. This is in his own words. He went to
Hmm.
Creighton. He landed a gig at the DNC as a voter expansion data director in the voter protection division. Super, super smart by all accounts of everybody that knew him. I love
Big
data
Bernie Sanders
analytics.
fan, right?
Well, later on, that was one of the things that was brought out that may have been the case. His
Yeah.
parents kind of denied that later, but
Oh, okay.
he was working on data really in the Clinton campaign, and really mapping out their strategy for the end, right, coming toward that 2016 election. Um, and that was the DNC, but he was preparing to jump to Hillary Clinton's campaign in Brooklyn, which would have been a bigger gig because you're going on to the nominee now from the DNC to the nominee. And then in the summer, July 10th of 2016, 3 days before the convention in Philadelphia, he wrapped up a shift at the DMC, and then he went, excuse me, excuse me. Um, he went to he wrapped up a shift around 1:30 a.m. and then he went to a bar that he usually went to right after apparently he got a couple of beers, was only there for like 20 minutes, and then left around 1:45. And people said he had his phone in hand and he was walking the 5 blocks home. Now what's crazy is 1:45 to 4:19 a.m. is when the shots rang out and the call comes in. um, so there's a big time gap there, and the Metro PD rolls up to find him on the ground with 2 shots in the back, in his upper back, from about 3 feet away. They say entry wounds at T4, T7 vertebrae, and no exit. The autopsy showed homicide by gunshot. There was no evidence of drug use, and by that time the alcohol was already out of his system, so you could tell that he hadn't had much. Um, it looks like there was bruises on his face and hands and arms, and that kind of pointed to some kind of a struggle. Um, his smartwatch showed a ping of heart rate spike at 4:04 a.m. So that's 4:04. The shots rang out at 4:19. So there's some real gaps here. Like, what is going on? What's happening? The 4:04 was like he sprinted away from somebody who was coming after him.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 blocks to your home. So how is it 1:45 to 4:19 and 4:04, whatever, right around four when you're attacked? I
Yeah,
mean,
over 2 hours. You just walking 5 blocks.
yeah. And so there's there's a story about that comes out a little bit later that basically said that he was talking to his girlfriend. Let me see here. Yeah, there it is. Um, the girlfriend was on the phone with him starting at 2:05. So that would have been post walk. He'd been already made it home at some point. Maybe they speculate that he was walking around outside. It is the summertime, so it's probably warm in DC. But he said that she said they talked for 120 plus minutes about politics, the future, the Brooklyn um, job coming up with the Clintons, with Hillary Clinton anyway. And then at 4:19, right before the shots ring out, he cuts off and says, "Almost home, gotta go."
Mm-hmm.
And so he hangs up right before this all happens. What doesn't make sense to me is that the smartwatch gives you 4:04 for the ping and heart rate, and then 4:19 he's still on the phone with her and says, "Gotta go." Uh, Weird. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
all right. What else do I
And
have here?
that
So,
early in the morning, that's kind of crazy too.
yeah, I
One
mean, what do you?
forty-five. You're not going. You're not trying to stay out on the street. You're going straight to your house. I mean,
It depends. I mean, that's he was a very young guy, high energy, and if you're working till 1:30, you know how it is when you're working a high intensity job. You get off
yeah,
work, you
that's a good
might
point.
need to blow off some steam, that kind of thing. I mean, I know when I've done like catering gigs in the past where I get off late, one, two, I'm not going to bed for at least an hour or two. You're still
Yeah.
kind of ramped up, you know. Um,
Hmm.
so that doesn't strike me as too crazy. But what does is they passed it as a robbery. He had $1,600 in cash in his wallet that was not taken. His phone and keys were not
Gold
taken. He had a
gold
fat
chain
gold
too, right?
necklace on that was
Yeah.
not taken. There was no forced entry shown to his apartment. No signs of staging of the body, and so it looked like they say botched robbery. But I mean, if you shoot somebody and they're trying to rob him in the first place, are you not going to take the 30 seconds to see what the guy's got?
Yeah. $1,600. I mean, that's a lot of cash to be carrying around too. But yeah, that would have been gone, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Um, However, there was a string of six attempted robberies that ended in shootings at that same kind of time frame in that same area. So that's one
Oh
thing
wow.
that leads to another kind of a tactic. But what I didn't find out was where did any of those end with the person who was attempted to be robbed have all of their stuff still on them? You know, doesn't make sense. Um,
Yeah, we probably don't have that data, but yeah, it doesn't
yeah,
make sense at all.
the other thing that doesn't make sense is that DC, even back in 2016, was a city that had cameras everywhere. And
Hmm.
it's one of those deals where there's no video at all, no shell casings found at all. And so it seems a little bit more professionally done. I mean, in order to avoid cameras, even like there, you would think that there would be cameras. It's in a public, populated downtown area of DC. Oh no, Philly. Which it was in. Oh, Bloomingdale. Yeah, DC. Um, you would think that the cameras would get something. Maybe not the murder itself, but a chase, a struggle, something, and they got nothing.
Yeah.
Zero. It just doesn't seem plausible to me.
Yeah.
So the Metro PD handled it FBI sniffed around but never took on the case. Never did take on the case. No federal probe, even though no ties to national security. Um, and then eventually, once it started getting blown up and people started running with the story, then they did do a special counsel with Robert Mueller. And actually, the special counsel was all about Trump anyway, and they tied the Seth Rich thing into it because
Yeah.
one of one of the reasons given for Seth Rich possibly being a target of the Clintons or the um, security state was that, like you started to mention earlier, that there's speculation that he was really a Bernie bro and was pissed about the Clintons stealing the candidacy from Bernie, and so that he's the one that hacked all of the emails and then gave them to WikiLeaks.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bunch of evidence around that that's really crazy. Um, any thoughts on what we already talked about before I keep prattling on?
No, I mean, it just doesn't really add up to me, you know, the whole story, the official
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
But
um,
but it gets crazier when you talk about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange.
yeah. So one curious thing that kind of I don't know how to file this part of the story, but his family was very insistent that the WikiLeaks thing had there was nothing to it. He didn't do that. He was very committed to Hillary. That's their
I
stance. The mom, dad, and brother all said that. They just wanted it all to go away. Um, they
feel like
actually
they
eventually,
wouldn't have known about that though, right? There's no way they could have known about that.
not really, but I think it's one of those things where you got a bunch of grief and you just don't want people talking about your now dead, murdered son and brother, and they eventually
Right.
sued Fox News for $420 million and then
Wow.
settled for an unknown amount in Philly.
Mm.
Um, the official story is a real neat little, hey, botched robbery, it's over now. Let's move on. But that's just not what any of the other evidence says. One of the things that um, the Mueller campaign or the Mueller investigation was around was the supposed Russian collusion hoax with Trump, and so another one of these things is like on the tangent of the Seth Rich story is that Mueller indicted 12 Russians for these security compromises of the hacking the DNC and hacking the Clinton emails and all this stuff. The problem
Right.
there is that those Russians reside in Russia.
Yeah.
And so you indict people you know that will never be brought to court. So you'll never expose any of the evidence. You won't have to prove your case. You can just say it was Russians who did that.
Yeah. It's a
And
good
so
point.
that was done to pour cold water on the theories around Seth Rich being the leaker.
Mm-hmm.
It gets even more intense when you find out what Julian Assange, the one who published the WikiLeaks, said about it. He was um, cornered. Where was that here? Okay, he was cornered by somebody who was a Dutch TV host, Peter Holland. Assange winks at the camera and says, "Our source is not rich." Play on words. It
Mm-hmm.
could be rich like Seth Rich or rich like lots of money. He says, "But we do have sources inside the DNC." He then, after that comment, posted a $20,000 bounty for Seth Rich's killer. And then when he was announcing that $20 bounty, he murmured, "Our sources take risks."
Mm-hmm.
That leads me to believe that he's all but saying the he's all but confirming that Seth Rich was the one who stole those
Yeah.
emails and leaked them to WikiLeaks. The other
Mm-hmm.
piece of evidence around that is that there was a Twitter handle that was very closely related to Seth Rich's Twitter handle that leaked a bunch of accusations against the DNC and Hillary in the days before the murder. The handle that leaked it was called at pandas for Bernie, at pandas the number four Bernie, and then Seth Rich's actual Twitter handle was pandas for progress.
Mm-hmm.
That's just too close for comfort for me. That screams out that he was the guy. those little
Yeah.
pieces of evidence lead me to believe that he was the one that stole those emails and leaked them out, because it's clear that the Democrats did screw Bernie out of being the nominee. Totally
Yeah.
clear.
I don't think you can debate that at all. I mean, that's public knowledge to me.
Yeah. So after he was killed, I mean, a variety of right wingers, Roger Stone, uh, uh, let's see who else, Sean Hannity. Um, oh, I'm sorry, what was the radio? Rush Limbaugh, um, and various others were just screaming from the rooftops about the Seth Rich thing, implying heavily implying that he was the one that had stolen the emails. And I mean, just connecting all these same dots that we're talking about now, including Alex Jones
Yeah.
was also making comments to that effect and saying the Clinton death count is +1 after Seth Rich, is what Alex Jones said about it.
God bless you, Alex Jones. You're a crazy person, but we love you.
He is a crazy person who's very often right. That's what I'll say about Alex.
Yeah, that's the saddest thing about it. Like, everybody just thinks he's
Yeah.
this conspiracy theorist, but a lot of the stuff he was
No,
talking
well,
about has come true.
he, yeah, he's a little bit manic, is what Alex is. Not that we
Yeah.
need to go too deep on him, but that's why he's very hard to listen to sometimes, and why a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. But that doesn't make him wrong. Um,
No.
I mean,
Got it.
he has been wrong multiple times, but there's a lot of stuff he's right on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so there's just so much around the Seth Rich one that again don't make sense. That doesn't make sense, rather. Um, do you have any other thoughts on that one? Because I think I've mostly covered the factual information and the implications.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too much stuff's not adding up once again involving the
Surprise,
Clintons.
surprise.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
I said this earlier, but there's no doubt that the Clintons screwed Bernie Sanders out of getting the nod for the Democratic.
Absolutely.
I
He was
mean,
leading in the
just,
polls, and then they
yeah.
pulled that super delegates nonsense. And just basically
Yeah.
the DNC decided to just choose the candidate. The
I
Clintons
mean,
were very
that's
much in.
not even legal, is it? Like, it's not supposed
No,
to
it's
be.
not really. I mean, it is technically legal, I guess, because they were allowed to do it. But
Yeah.
the Clintons and the Obamas didn't exactly get along. They weren't like the
Hmm.
best of pals, even though Hillary worked for Obama and all that. Um,
Yeah.
but like, Clinton, and then Bush too, and then Obama, the Clintons very much because of Hillary are still fighting for power to control the DNC. And Obama really, after his term, he kind of backed off. He would make comments about things, but Hillary was the one that was like trying to be in control of the Democratic Party. Her and
Yeah.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Um,
Did you see the picture of before and after Obama took office?
of
It
him,
looks like yeah, it looked like he'd lived 40 years. Like, it's insane.
yeah, that's very common. That's very common. One of the only ones who doesn't look like they've
Yeah.
aged that much is Trump. It's weird. Um, he's aged some, but I mean, all those guys. Bush looked terrible. Clinton looked terrible afterwards. I mean, then think
Yeah.
about it. It's a super high stress job, man. You got the weight of the world on your shoulders at that point.
Yeah. That's
Um,
not a job that I would want or would want to do the things to get to that job.
yep. So then, are you ready to move on from that one?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm good on Seth
All right.
Rich.
The next one that I got a bunch of information on was Mark Middleton, and I kind of
Mm.
discussed this in some detail when we discussed the Epstein stuff. But I
Hmm.
have more detail now. I went a little farther. Middleton had been in the Clinton orbit since Arkansas. He lived in Arkansas. He, at the time of his death in 2022, he was 59 years old. He was a former Clinton White House aide during the Bill Clinton administration.
Hmm.
He is the one. who facilitated the access of Jeffrey Epstein into the White House and physically signed him in 8 of the times that he was at the White House. I believe he was there 17 times um,
Yeah.
in the White House during the Clinton administration.
Yeah.
He he Clinton, we know for sure, I believe it was 27 or 28 times, was on the flight logs on the Lolita Express, Epstein's plane. But Mark Middleton was on there many times as well. I don't have a specific number on that, but he was there a lot. um, he ended up in a strange, what was deemed self-deletion on a ranch called the Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas, that he had officially never been to before. We don't know unofficially, but this ranch was affiliated with the Clinton Foundation. A lot of the financial support for that ranch had come from the Clinton Foundation for different projects they were working on. Some of it was like aid to Haiti, and some of it was local aid to other organizations. But this ranch was a nonprofit, was heavily tied to the Clinton Foundation in a couple of different ways, and through different philanthropic outlets.
Hmm.
Um, the circumstances are more than just a little strange around this self deletion, supposed or officially self deletion. Um,
Yeah.
First of all, it's 30 miles from his house to a place he was
Hmm.
supposedly unfamiliar with,
I've never been, right?
and officially, but who knows? If there were functions that
Yeah.
were out there that he happened to attend, we don't know. And because it was um, affiliated with the Clinton Foundation, you just never know because it's in his
Yeah.
orbit. But why there? Why did he go there that day? Well, it will probably forever be a mystery. But first of
Yeah.
all, moments before his apparent death, due to like toxicology reports and then all the evidence surrounding the death, and when they estimate the time of death, he texted his wife that he found a perfect place for a nap in the sun. You are a great mom and wife, babe. And followed up with, please be happy today and get some sun. It will make you feel better. I love you. That just doesn't sound like a guy who's about to self delete.
No, not
Not,
at all.
not at all. So, the official story, he was found hanging from a tree by an extension cord, the household kind, not even the outdoor kind that are a little thicker, but the household kind. Um, and with a shotgun wound to his chest. It's a little bit hard to talk about the details of it because all of the evidence has been sealed, and you cannot get pictures, you can't get any of the official reports. So all we have is reports from the people who found him and from some of the initial officers who were there.
It's
Um,
supposed to be sealed for 50 years, right? It's such a
Something
bizarre.
crazy like that. I mean, something
Yeah,
crazy
and
like that.
what are they giving as a reason for that?
The
That
family
it's an
wants
ongoing
to.
investigation?
The family doesn't want the speculation, is basically what they said, and it would cause harm to the family if the
Wow.
all the pictures and everything were out there.
Hmm.
Um,
Unfortunate.
the the initial report and the initial officers who came on the scene made no mention of a weapon of any kind being around.
Yeah.
And then later on, the shotgun was found about 30 feet away, standing upright in some bushes. And
Well, I mean,
so,
first of all, you're going to hang yourself and then you're going to shoot yourself in the chest, which I'm pretty sure no one in recorded history has done that I can think
well,
of. Anyway,
yeah, you probably couldn't reach the trigger on it. You'd have to do it with your toe or something like that. And
exactly. While you're hanging? Like what?
yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
just doesn't. The logistics of it don't make any sense.
Not at all.
It's almost
In a
physically
place that you've never
impossible.
been before. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or that you're
The
definitely not
other,
familiar with. Why would you, you know, self delete in a place like that? I'm pretty sure you would go to somewhere that you're comfortable with, that you love, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, the family claimed he had barely ever used the gun, and another family friend claimed that he hated guns, had no knowledge of guns, and was reading some of the other details. They said he was one of the least physically imposing or physically capable and coordinated men they'd ever met.
Mm,
Like he just wasn't somebody who was going to be able to handle himself and do all of these things physically that it would have required to try to pull this off. Great with
yeah,
paperwork, super smart guy, super organized, and otherwise had other talents. But just as far as being able physically to pull something like this off, as far and mentally have the capability to do it with a gun was just not something that people around him said was even possible. Um,
yeah.
uh, that said that there were the body the ranch also has tons of these no trespassing signs, and so it's
Hmm.
supposed to be somewhere where people can't just go, and yet he was there in a place he'd never been with no invitation, wasn't supposed to be on the property, and then also it's said that the first person who saw the body was a trespassing hiker who didn't immediately report it and only later came forward, and the call to the police was made by a ranch hand who noticed that the car had been in this place for a little while and went to go investigate and then found the body. Not only the
Wow.
photos sealed, so is the phone and GPS data. Um, one of the leaks says that a couple of hours prior he texted trouble to someone, but it doesn't say to who here. Um, he. What's crazy is it was 30 miles from his actual family home, but he had been in DC right before this.
Hmm.
And so it's a long way to go from DC, working in DC around the um, probably I'm sure around the Clinton Foundation to end up out there. What for? You would seem like you'd have to be like summoned to something. Like somebody would have had to call you, say like, "Hey, I need you to come to this place" or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
in the House probe into Epstein, Middleton invoked the Fifth Amendment 100 plus times. 100 plus times. It just doesn't even seem
Wow.
possible. And so he did that. He also had a lot of the documentation of the Clintons being on the Lolita Express. Um, and at the time when his death happened, there was this clamor to release the Epstein stuff, and everybody thought Biden was going to do it, but he didn't. So there's speculation that because more was going to come out, that another guy who had information on it had to be moved off that chessboard.
Hmm.
The Arkansas State Police were one of the first ones on the scene after the local sheriff. And like we mentioned previously, they've long been accused of being a Clinton cleanup crew and handling business for the Clintons. Um, who
Well,
knows?
that's the
But
crazy thing. It's like they had plenty of time to clean up this scene, and they left it like that. Like, doesn't make any sense at all. You know? Maybe they
none.
wanted it to be stranger than fiction, right? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Again, one of the things that, again, just about the details of the self deletion, if that's what we're going with, is that 1%, about 1% of self deletions are by shotgun, and
Yeah.
combined with hanging, there's there's almost no other cases that have ever been heard of. I mean, there's maybe one, because as they say almost, that leads me to believe there's maybe one other case that's a combined.
Of
Uh,
being or hanging and shooting yourself.
yeah, with a
I mean,
shotgun.
I'm sure it's happened like throughout history, but like that can't be a common thing. That can't be a mostly plausible thing, you know?
Yeah, so one of the official lines that gets this is people that are of the official line. They say that Middleton allegedly tied the cord, placed the barrel against his chest, pulled the trigger with a toe, and the recoil launched the 8 to 10 pound weapon 30 feet downhill, landing upright in the leaves.
Come
And
on, man.
what normal forensics would say is that it's going to knock the gun back a few feet, 6 to 8 feet,
Yeah,
possibly, maybe. That's at the most likely less, especially if it's up in the air. It's going to go straight down, and maybe
yeah,
fall
exactly.
over.
Gravity,
Uh, yeah. Um,
man. It's just not believable by any, you know, plausible means, in my
we
opinion.
have we have none of the ballistics data on the angle or trajectory of the shot. That was also sealed.
I'm sure.
Um, and so, like, the other thing is that somebody suggested that a household cord could not stand up to something where it was not tight. He uses the toe trigger and then falls off of whatever, something, however he got himself up there. A household size extension cord with a man who's about 200 pounds would have just snapped.
Hmm.
They're not going to hold up to that kind of thing. Yeah, here is the quote about the former associate. Physically impossible. He knows nothing about guns. Middleton was terrified of firearms, per friends, yet drove with that gun loaded in a case. I doubt it.
Hmm.
No shell casing was ever found. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of shotgun it was, but if it was the typical skeet shooting kind where you pop in 3 rounds, they eject, what, six to
Yeah, if
eight
it's a
feet?
pump, it's coming out. If it's over and under, it's staying in there. So I mean,
Yeah,
that'll still be in the chamber, easy to find.
right.
Either
Um,
way, easy to find.
yeah, so another guy says it isn't just Hollywood absurd. Um, this mirrors the inconsistencies in ruled self deletions like Epstein's. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have any basis in reality, and why they would think that people are going to go with those stories, I just can't understand.
Yeah, that's. I'm not buying it. I'll tell you that much.
No. Here's the thing on the judge. Judge Alice Gray allowed text reports but sealed visuals in 2022. No independent verification of staging, blood spatter, or gun positioning. Um, we had a bunch of FOIA requests that have gone in, and they've given partial documents, but much of it has still been suppressed. 911 audio and GPS data are redacted. And the reason given is tabloids, fear of tabloid speculation. I mean, if it's
Wow.
straightforward, what do you have to hide?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, it's just the only other things I had here was that every FOIA has been fought vehemently, both by local district attorneys and sheriff's office and Arkansas State Police. So they just don't want
Hmm.
the real information to come out on this at all.
Yeah. Something's
So
fishy. That's for sure.
uh, when you get all of these, and then we've talked about Epstein quite a bit. Um, Nothing there holds up either. I don't think we have to go down that path again and beat that one to death. But I don't know of anybody in my personal life or in a public life um, that I trust who believes that he self deleted. And when you
Yeah.
have Epstein, I mean, and then when you have people like Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, who prior to being in an official capacity were all about it and wanted everything to come out. And then as soon as they're the ones that are in the official capacity, like, oh yeah, he self deleted. It's clear.
Yeah.
I, I just don't get the flip flop like that. I don't understand why you would change opinions like that. Well, what all this tells me is it's very similar to things that we've talked about before, how we have a multi-tiered system of justice. And Lady Liberty is certainly not blind when it comes to the rich and powerful.
Right.
It seems very clear that the Clintons, in this case, have been able to do pretty much whatever they've wanted to when it came to drugs and money and murder and all kinds of
For
stuff
decades.
for
Yeah.
decades. And not only do what they want to do, but to occupy some of the highest offices in the land, both governor and president of the United States for Clinton, and secretary of state and a senator, I believe, for Clinton, or
Yeah.
Hillary. Um, and so it's just that's, I think, why we get to this place where people are just so sick of politicians.
Yeah.
Um, Not to go back down the Fuentes track, but why his message resonates with some people.
Hmm.
Um, because people are just so sick of what political people get away with.
Right. Especially these stereotypical poster children of corrupt politics, and they don't seem to be going anywhere. And that's truly frustrating to me.
Definitely, truly frustrating to me as well. But that's why we wanted to do this, because it is an older story with some more current iterations. Seth Rich and Mark Middleton weren't too far in the distant past. But what it speaks to is a lot of the other issues that we've been kind of highlighting, is that um, no matter if you think that you're a Democrat or a Republican, neither one of them care much about you.
Yeah,
And that, or at least for me, well, I won't speak for you, but at least for me, I hope we can get some other third party candidates to come in here and do something different. And I
for
hope that
sure.
these major parties die on out.
Yeah, and I don't care what party you're associated with. I will expose corruption in any way, shape, or form whenever possible.
Yeah. And the truth is what we're after. We don't care what party it aligns with. And hopefully it doesn't align with either of the two major ones. I think they're both too far gone,
Hmm.
frankly, to be recoverable. We've kind of covered that in the past as well. But after Clinton or after Trump, I don't think the Republican Party survives, because he's changed it so much, and the Democrats stand for absolutely nothing besides not Trump.
Yeah, I don't know. I think JD Vance could surprise people. Um, I don't really
Yeah,
have too many issues with him,
I
except the
mean,
whole
my
Peter Thiel thing. But
except for that's a pretty big one,
yeah,
man. And Peter Thiel's connected to all of the other like PayPal mafia guys who are all into AI now. And
sure.
I mean, the last thing that we need is a surveillance state and a social credit system. Hey, by the way, have you started to see any of the things that are coming out of China about their social credit system and the homeless people and the people that are all outside of society that can't buy anything and can't? Have you seen any of that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh man.
I've seen enough. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty scary that it's so quickly happening in China, where that social credit system, where everything you do and say is tied to whether or not you can be a functional member of society, is going south so quickly. I knew it wouldn't work, but I didn't realize
Yeah.
it was going to be just a couple of years before it went
Hmm.
completely dystopian on us.
It's
I
happening
mean,
in London too.
well, they don't have that social credit score system.
Right, but I mean the same type of thing is happening. There
Yeah.
you can't say what you want to say anymore.
Oh yeah. I mean, after China, London or the UK probably puts more people in jail over social media posts than anybody. And China will disappear you, but you can go to jail for sure. They'll show up to your
Right.
house. The cops will knock on your door for saying certain things. And actually, I've seen even in the United States, the cops show up at people's door on certain things. They can't do anything about it at this point, but it doesn't
Hmm.
mean they won't harass you over it.
Right.
Um, just crazy. But any
Especially
uh,
if
any other
Bill Clinton's in your pocket, right?
right? Um,
Or
have
Hillary.
you?
I'm sorry.
She
I want to
seems to be.
demonize her way more than Bill. Although Bill's definitely guilty of a lot, but
Bill's a dirt bag,
Hillary,
but I think she's
yeah,
the really nefarious one behind the scenes that's pushing everything. He's just a sexual deviant and dirt bag when it comes to that side of things.
right.
Only just, it's not to make light of it, but um,
Yeah.
Any other stories that stick out in your mind from recent news stuff, or you want to get into that later?
Nothing I can think about, man. I will end by saying one thing that kind of ties into Clinton's being way too powerful. I remember about 10 years ago, I saw a video of, and this was on YouTube, like young YouTube, of Bill Clinton talking to a reporter, pretty girl, young girl, outside of their, I guess it was a Suburban at the time, and Hillary's in the car, doors open. Bill's talking to this reporter, and Hillary leans her head out the window and screams, "You can't effer here, Bill. You can't effer here. Get in the car." And I saw
Wow.
this. This is a fact. And I have scoured the internet for the past 2 years to find it, and it is gone from memory, from recorded
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
So just remember, people, there are people that are way too powerful. And the fact that they can just erase something from the internet.
Yeah. For me and you, the internet's forever. For these
Yeah,
powerful people, it's not. If they don't want it to
no.
be out there, it won't be.
Oh, and with
Um,
AI and all these other things, how do you tell what's real? It's
well,
crazy.
that too, but you just reminded me of something else. I don't know if you saw Tucker Carlson's video on who is oh, what's the kid who shot at Trump in Pittsburgh?
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can't
what's
remember his
that kid's
name.
name? Anyway, he had a video documentary on him, and it you know how they said he had no social media footprint?
Right.
Entirely untrue. It's been
Wow.
uncovered now that he does, but they just wiped it all. And there's internet sleuths that know how to go find that stuff and out of the archives and go find it. But it's been shown. He
Yeah.
had a video footprint. He had an online footprint. He was severely, radically right at first, and he talked crap to anybody who had a problem with Trump. And then, right about 2020, he started shifting the complete opposite way. Um,
Wonder why
and
that
so,
is.
I mean, the speculation out there says government involvement, says MK Ultra type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so, anyway, it's insane that we have two recent attempts on Trump's life and we have almost no details about either one of them.
Yeah.
Bothers me that I can't remember his name. Gosh, you can't
Oh,
remember it either, huh?
no, I can't. Dang it. It's because that was
Uh,
the first. You talking about the first one or the most recent attempt?
but well, Ryan Ralph was the second one on the golf course. I remember his name
Yeah,
forever.
the older guy, right?
Thomas Matthew Crooks. I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but
Okay, yeah.
it was slipping the brain for a minute. But yeah, Crooks, the weird looking nerdy kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, another one where they cleaned up the crime scene. They had an FBI agent out there power washing the roof the next day when site cleanup is something that usually doesn't happen for a couple of weeks at minimum, and they
Yeah.
usually outsource it. So I mean, we're getting way off topic now, but there's so much that
Right.
goes on with
There's so much
the
corruption,
government.
man. So much that they're just able to do whatever they
I
want
think
to do.
that's what people are sick of for sure.
I mean,
But
we
look,
didn't even
man,
get into like all the illegal campaign funding. Um, all the money that was changed hands and all of the just craziness that the Clintons constantly do and still do.
hmm,
And
yeah,
I mean, I don't even want to, but
the
if
nefarious
you
stuff
don't
around
believe
the
me, just look it up, Google it. It's
Yeah,
pretty obvious.
yeah. The nefarious stuff around the Clinton Foundation it could be an episode in itself.
Yeah.
So at some point we may go down that track if we feel so compelled. But I think we pretty
Hmm.
much covered this one. Getting
Yeah.
kind of off into the weeds about some of the stuff that it's related to that we've already we kind of talk about regularly.
Yeah.
But we do again appreciate anybody who's checking us out. I'm
Yeah.
sure we
Thanks,
got
guys.
some things wrong, and that's okay. And you can
Yeah.
be sure to tell us about it. But if you appreciate what we do, please like, share, and subscribe. And the most important of those is to share with friends who might enjoy what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like Josh said, if we're wrong, please let us know. We'd love to learn. So
Drop a comment. We'd be happy to look into some other things.
yeah.
All right, Mike.
And if you
It's been good.
have anything else to add about the Clintons that we missed, please leave a comment. We'd love to know about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, wrap this one up, huh?
Yes, sir.
All
Always a
right.
pleasure, my friend. Thanks
All
for
right. Talk to
listening,
you later.
guys. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Later.